Yeah, you could say Last Guardian's a big game. You could say this is you could say this was like an announcement that was made at the show that people listened to and remembered and are thinking about possibly. And definitely a question. I mean, there's like so many tiers of Last Guardian. It's like, are we going to hear anything new? Okay, if we hear anything new, are we going to see anything new? If we see anything new, is it going to be actually gameplay, or is it just going to be like some weird trailer? And miracle of miracles, if we get gameplay, are we actually going to play this game? Did you hold a PS4 controller and play The Last Guardian? Okay.
Did not play. Ueda played, though, in the room.
Yeah.
Super
Wow.
intimate demonstration. It was just a very grateful presentation. The vibe was that we are so humbled and honored to be making this and that you want this. They kept talking about the reaction last night at Sony. So he played. He played an extended demo from the one at E3. It began roughly 10 to 15 minutes before that demo started. So it was a prequel to that. The Trico, the animal, they don't have a name for it other than Trico.
Okay.
You're in this confined space with it, and it's just lying there, and it has spears in its side. So the boy climbs up and pulls the spears out, and it, yelps in pain. You just feel this yelp. It's so much power. And then the best part was that there were barrels lying around all over the ground, and the boy can pick up the barrel and throw it up in the air, and it bites and eats the barrel like food. I guess there's food or water in the barrels. So the way it unfolded just felt so natural. That was my biggest takeaway, was that you're in this space, you don't really have a clear objective, clear direction at all. You're going around, you're clearing the barrels, and he's eating them. And then he's kind of snooping around, and then he kind of climbs up to this window, and then you climb up him, and he was smelling like more barrels that were up there. So then you feed him all the barrels, and then now you're separated from him, and you have to find a way to open this giant grate for him to get through. So the biggest things that Ueda was saying were that they've taken the lessons from Ico, the boy and the girl, how they interact to solve puzzles, and they've taken the scaling of the creatures from Shadow of the Colossus. So he kept driving that home, that we're taking both of the best parts from Ico and Shadow of the Colossus to give Last Guardian.
And so you had this kind of setup, you're getting to. This seems like a tutorial, or it seems like maybe the beginning of the game.
Yeah, it seemed very early.
If you're just kind of learning how to feed, Trico, that maybe this is you. Introducing to him. So it did that. Was that kind of like in the interest of time leading into the demo that we saw, or did that lead directly into it?
So then he, the boy is separated and he finds a switch. Oh, that was cool too. So he goes up to the gate. He goes up to the gate and he calls for it, and it just tries to ram the gate down, and it just keeps trying to ram it over and over. And then there was a giant switch, and he finally pulled the switch, and then it charges through, and then that hallway led to where the demo started.
Does this game need to look better for you?
So I was really concerned with what we saw last night. Granted, it was on a stream. It looked like PS3. That was the initial reaction. During the presentation, it looked great. It was obviously on a projector on some 90-inch screen with the best sound system that rivals IMAX.
Must be nice.
Yeah, must be nice. But it looked really cool. The lighting was a lot better than you could tell on the stream, and everything looked really good. The scope of it all. You see something, and it just has this size and this weight. Trico himself.
I can believe it. I played Shadow of the Colossus. It was really interesting. We're talking about. Just games like possibly the next Shenmue can not have like a ton of detail to it because it's based on this game that was released in 2001, or like it could be containing that story. And really questioning, like, do we really need that in a lot of games? Because there was kind of this like vacancy, this emptiness to Shadow of the Colossus in that world, and yet there was so much detail. It really felt like a place where you actually were and could visit. And so like it is a fine line, and it is something I think that team does really well. Same thing with Eco.
But kind of talking about that vankness, in so many games they try to sell you like, no, our world is huge, it has so many things in it, but it still feels empty. I feel like Shadow of the Colossus and Eco use that feeling of emptiness to enhance their storytelling, and I feel like it has a very profound purpose, and that emptiness, in a way, how you feel about it changes over the course of the game.
Memoir, I can't even put into words from this 15-minute demonstration the amount of feels and emotions that were coursing through my veins. Nothing is happening. You're chilling around with this giant beast and you're hopping on platforms, and that spoke a million words. It was so
I think we're
intense.
so used to commanding animals. I think that's really the big thing. Like play Ark Survival Evolved in that launch, and it's just kind of like, yeah, you just shove food at this thing, and then eventually it'll become your friend. Or we saw the dog in Fallout, and he's like, here, you just point at this thing, and you click a button, and it just does it because it's a dog. And there's something really enticing about, like, you don't really know what this guy's doing, and it sounds like that's not something they really got into, or maybe some commands you can give him or cues that you can do that he's going to react to. Food, it seemed like the main impulse. If you find one of these things, chuck them at him. It'll might make him happy or make him feel better.
It seemed like during the press conference, one of the things that they were emphasizing is a key part of the game is you'll constantly be learning what you can do with this creature. Did you sort of get that sensation that you just sort of had this aha moment? Like, maybe I can go this way?
Yeah, you don't know. Exactly, Brandon nailed it. You don't know what he's going to do because you have no control over him. The boy, obviously, you're in control and has a brain because it's your brain trying to figure things out. And then Trico has the brute force, the muscle, the wingspan, the ability to jump gaps. There was this moment in the demo too when you remember when he jumps and lands on his tail. Ueda missed the tail, fell to his death. The vibe in the room for him, the apologetic vibes. I'm so sorry. But he was playing right there.
You can't make you jump every time.
And then it went back to the checkpoint. It was when he pushes the giant trap over.
You talked about the lack of the control with the beast. What I was kind of curious about, did you ever feel like there were times when the beast, like you were calling, or Ueda was calling for it, and just the beast was like, no, I don't want to do that. Was it ever resistant?
It's never resistant.
Okay.
Not enough space. That's going to be really interesting when that game opens up. The room was very small that it began in. The hallway was very claustrophobic, and then it led into the demo, which is that path as well. So I'm interested to see what happens when things open up.
So I think this is, to wrap up the conversation, although I could talk about this. I have a lot of questions about Last Guardian. But, I mean, you are the final piece of the puzzle, Michael Huber, for the Game Trailer staff. It was like speculation leading to confirmation, leading to elation. But then we need the confirmation now. Of really knowing, like, okay, this was cool, but is this a game that feels finished? Is this a game I'm actually going to want to play?
They brought it
up. I think that's like the new thing. It's like, okay, we've gotten past the emotional point of us knowing whether it existed or not. Now we know it exists. Am I really going to play this? Is this something in 2015 that really stands out, that really is going to hold its own on the PlayStation 4?
It ended with him saying, we could not thank you enough for waiting. Thank you a million times for waiting. My core team from Eco and Shadow of the Colossus, my most trusted employees, and the force behind both of those games and myself are working extremely hard to get this into your hands. That's how it ended. That was it.